Have you ever wondered why the rich seem to play by a different set of rules? Why success seems to follow them almost effortlessly while so many others work hard yet remain stuck? The truth is simple, but rarely spoken aloud. Wealth is not an accident, and millionaires do not operate by chance. They follow roles, patterns, and disciplines most never take the time to learn. This is a message for those who are ready to awaken to the truth about wealth and success. The difference between the rich and the poor is not fate. It is not chance. It is not the lottery of life. It is, quite simply, in how one thinks and how one acts. You see, wealth begins in the mind. Every millionaire you will ever meet first became rich in thought before they ever became rich in the bank. They began by shaping a vision so vivid, so real, that it guided their every decision. If you want to change your results, you must begin by changing your thoughts. Guard them, protect them, and feed them with knowledge, for your thoughts are the seeds of your destiny. The second role of the wealthy is self-investment. The rich invest in their minds, in their skills, in their growth, long before they invest in stocks, properties, or companies. Why? Because no one can take away a sharpened mind or a cultivated skill, and once you become valuable, the world cannot help but pay you in proportion to the service you render. Discipline is their companion. Where others yield to temptation, the wealthy endure. They save when others spend. They learn when others entertain themselves. They work when others rest, not because they must, but because they see what others cannot. The rich see obstacles as opportunities in disguise. Where the average person sees risk, the wealthy see potential. They ask not, "What will I lose?" but "What can I gain, and what will I learn?" They treat time with reverence. While most trade their hours cheaply, the rich guard every moment as if it were gold. They delegate tasks that waste their time, and they spend their hours on what multiplies their vision. The wealthy build bridges of people. They surround themselves with individuals who lift them higher, who challenge their ideas, who broaden their vision. They know no one climbs the mountain of success alone. The rich avoid the noise. They are not distracted by gossip, by endless news cycles, or by the meaningless chatter of the world. They keep their minds clear, focused, and quiet enough to hear the whisper of opportunity when it comes. Failure does not deter them. It instructs them. Each setback becomes a stepping stone, each mistake a lesson. While others quit, they learn, adjust, and advance. Most importantly, the rich understand that money is a tool. They work not just for money, but to create systems where money works for them. Their wealth multiplies while they sleep, because they chose to build rather than consume. And finally, the wealthy live by principle. They do not gamble on luck. They rely on vision, discipline, and service to others. Their fortune is not built on sand, but on timeless truths that never fade. They guard their thoughts like treasure. Knowing the mind is the first factory of wealth. Every great achievement, every fortune, every innovation began first as an idea formed in the quiet chambers of the human mind. The wealthy understand that thoughts are not casual. They are seeds, and once planted they will grow into results that shape one's reality. To allow just any thought to occupy the mind is to give away the keys to the most valuable factory in existence. For this reason, those who rise above mediocrity are deliberate about what they think, what they read, what they listen to, and whom they associate with, for they know that every influence has the power to mold their inner world. A mind filled with doubt and fear cannot produce abundance, but a mind disciplined to hold visions of success, gratitude, and possibility will inevitably bring those visions into form. The rich treat their thoughts as an investment. Just as they would not waste money on things that depreciate in value, they refuse to waste mental energy on worry, gossip, or negativity. Instead, they spend their attention on ideas that expand their vision, on learning that sharpens their judgment, and on affirmations that strengthen their confidence. The quality of their outer world is always a mirror of the quality of their inner thinking, and so they practice filtering every thought to ensure it serves their purpose. They know that success is not first measured in numbers, but in the ability to think accurately, creatively, and constructively. This discipline in thought creates a shield against distractions. While others are swayed by circumstances, headlines, and opinions, the wealthy remain anchored. They understand that circumstances change, markets fluctuate, and people may discourage them. But the one thing no one can take away is their power to direct their thoughts. By focusing consistently on what they want rather than on what they fear, they maintain clarity in the midst of chaos. This clarity is what allows them to act decisively when opportunities arise while others hesitate in confusion. Guarding their thoughts also means they treat the mind like fertile soil, feeding it daily with the right kind of material. Books filled with wisdom, conversations with those who inspire, and quiet moments of reflection become part of their daily routine. They realize that every thought that enters their mind is a builder, either constructing a palace of success or laying bricks for a prison of limitation. Therefore, they take responsibility for every mental impression, knowing that what is allowed in will one day show itself outwardly. This is why they keep their imagination alive. They envision the life they desire, holding it so vividly in the mind that it becomes more real than current circumstances. They rehearse success in thought until it becomes second nature. Over time, their subconscious begins to accept this vision as reality, and actions naturally follow to align with that belief. In this way, their guarded thoughts become the blueprint from which their wealth is drawn, proving again that the mind, when properly directed, is the greatest factory of riches ever known. They invest in themselves before investing in anything else. The wealthy understand that the most profitable asset they will ever own is not a company, a piece of land, or a stock portfolio, but their own mind and abilities. They realize that before they can build wealth outside, they must first build wealth inside. This means sharpening their skills, cultivating their knowledge, and developing the habits that will allow them to handle greater responsibilities and greater opportunities. A person unprepared for success will quickly lose it if it arrives, but the individual who has invested in self-growth will not only keep it but multiply it. This is why millionaires treat learning as a lifelong pursuit and never stop feeding their minds with new information, new perspectives, and new disciplines. When others look for the fastest investment returns in markets or businesses, the wealthy look first to what will return the greatest compound interest: personal growth. They buy books that expand their thinking, attend seminars that challenge their assumptions, seek mentors who can shorten their learning curve, and spend time mastering their craft. They are not afraid to spend money on courses, coaching, or education because they know that one idea, one insight, one sharpened skill can lead to opportunities that yield far more than the initial cost. Unlike possessions that depreciate, knowledge and wisdom continue to appreciate for a lifetime, and the dividends they pay can never be measured fully in currency. This principle also extends to health and well-being. Millionaires recognize that a tired mind and a weakened body cannot sustain the energy required for success. They invest in their physical fitness, their nutrition, their rest, and their mental clarity. They know that energy is the fuel that powers productivity, creativity, and leadership, and without it, no amount of ambition can produce lasting results. The investment in health is an investment in longevity, ensuring that they not only build wealth but live long enough and strong enough to enjoy it and use it wisely. Self-investment also means mastering emotional intelligence. The rich understand that wealth is built not only on numbers but on relationships. They learn to communicate effectively, to listen deeply, to handle conflict with wisdom, and to lead with influence rather than force. This emotional maturity makes them attractive partners in business, trustworthy leaders, and resilient individuals who can navigate challenges without breaking under pressure. Every skill they develop in managing themselves multiplies their ability to manage opportunities, people, and money. Above all, their decision to invest in themselves comes from a recognition of value. They see themselves as worthy of growth, capable of expansion, and destined for contribution. This belief fuels their commitment to continuous learning and improvement, for they understand that money will always rise to the level of the person who holds it. By becoming more, they inevitably attract more. By expanding their capacity, they naturally expand their opportunities. In every season of life, they know that the greatest return on investment begins with the decision to invest in themselves before investing in anything else. They practice discipline when others give in to comfort. The wealthy know that success is never built in the moments of ease, but in the moments of choice when the temptation to settle is strongest. Discipline is the bridge between intention and achievement, and it is this bridge they cross daily while others remain behind. When most people choose the comfort of sleep, they rise early to begin their work. When others spend their earnings on fleeting pleasures, they save and invest with foresight. When distractions call for their attention, they remain focused on the task that moves them closer to their vision. It is not that they never feel the pull of comfort, but that they have trained themselves to value long-term reward over short-term relief. This ability to choose discipline over comfort is what separates temporary success from lasting wealth. Comfort whispers promises of rest and ease, but discipline delivers the reality of freedom and abundance. Millionaires understand that every great endeavor requires sacrifice. They give up hours of entertainment to study, to plan, and to build. They forego the instant satisfaction of indulgence in favor of the delayed gratification that compounds into results. Where others see discipline as restriction, they see it as liberation because it frees them from the chains of regret, debt, and mediocrity. Discipline is not practiced once and forgotten, it is practiced daily in small, consistent actions. The wealthy build routines that guard their focus. They set goals, create schedules, and follow through even when motivation fades. They know that motivation is fleeting, but discipline endures. It is the quiet force that pushes them forward on days when nothing else does. This consistency compounds over time, and what appears to be small daily acts accumulate into extraordinary achievements. The comfort-seeking individual may laugh at the disciplined person, calling them rigid or overly serious, but time reveals the truth. The one who gave in to comfort remains stuck in the same place, while the disciplined person rises above, enjoying the fruits of steady effort. Comfort is temporary and deceptive. It satisfies for a moment but steals from the future. Discipline, though demanding in the present, enriches the future with opportunities, freedom, and security. The rich also practice discipline, not just in money and work, but in thought and emotion. They discipline their minds to focus on solutions rather than problems, to maintain composure rather than react impulsively, and to persevere rather than quit. This mental strength becomes their greatest weapon in a world filled with uncertainty and challenges. Discipline in thought produces discipline in action, and together they form the foundation of their success. Every fortune built and every goal achieved has behind it a man or woman who refused to surrender to comfort. Discipline becomes their companion, their shield, and their guide. It is the quiet agreement they make with themselves every day, that they will do what must be done, not what is easiest. By practicing discipline when others give in to comfort, they build a life most only dream of, while proving that the path to wealth is paved not with chance but with consistent, deliberate choice. They see opportunities where most see obstacles. The wealthy have trained their minds to look beyond the surface of problems and search for hidden possibilities that others overlook. Where the average person stops at difficulty, they press forward with curiosity, asking themselves what can be gained, what can be learned, and what can be built from the challenge before them. This perspective is not accidental but cultivated through years of conditioning the mind to see abundance instead of scarcity, solutions instead of limitations, and doors instead of walls. They understand that every obstacle is a disguised opportunity, and that those who recognize this truth are the ones who rise to success while others surrender to defeat. When most people encounter a problem, they complain, retreat, or avoid it altogether. But millionaires know that problems are signals pointing toward value. Every fortune has been made by solving what others considered impossible. Every great business was born from meeting a need that others ignored. Instead of asking why it cannot be done, the wealthy ask how it can be achieved. This single shift in perspective turns the same obstacle that discourages the majority into a stepping stone for the minority. They also understand that obstacles refine character. Rather than fearing challenges, they welcome them as opportunities to strengthen resilience, sharpen creativity, and deepen wisdom. They know that the greater the obstacle, the greater the reward hidden within it. Where others see a dead end, they see an invitation to innovate. Where others see risk, they see potential growth. This is why the wealthy thrive in times of crisis, because while others focus on problems, they focus on possibilities. Opportunities often come disguised as hard work, setbacks, or even failure. The wealthy recognize this disguise and embrace it, knowing that each challenge carries a lesson that brings them closer to mastery. They treat obstacles as feedback, not finality. If a plan fails, it does not mean the vision has failed, it simply means a better strategy is waiting to be discovered. This adaptability allows them to move forward while others remain stuck in frustration. Seeing opportunities in obstacles also requires imagination. The rich use their creative faculties to picture what could be rather than what is. They visualize solutions, experiment with ideas, and connect dots others do not see. Their willingness to think differently allows them to find profit where others see only loss. This habit of imaginative problem-solving transforms barriers into bridges, turning adversity into advancement. In the end, the difference lies in perspective. Two people can face the same obstacle. One will see only a reason to quit, the other will see a reason to grow. The wealthy have trained themselves to choose the latter, and this choice again and again opens doors to success. By conditioning their minds to see opportunities where most see obstacles, they not only overcome challenges but also build empires on the very foundations where others gave up. They treat time as their most valuable currency. The wealthy understand that money can be lost and earned again, possessions can be taken and replaced, but time once spent can never be recovered. Every day brings 24 hours, a deposit of priceless minutes and seconds, and how one chooses to use this resource determines the quality of life they will create. Millionaires realize that careless use of time is the greatest poverty, and so they guard it more carefully than any treasure. They weigh each activity by its return, not always in dollars, but in growth, fulfillment, and alignment with their vision. This awareness makes them intentional about how they structure their days, eliminating the trivial and focusing on what multiplies their future. While most people allow time to slip away through distraction, procrastination, and idle entertainment, the wealthy see time as a tool to be invested wisely. They ask themselves before committing to anything, does this bring me closer to my goals or does it drain me? They prioritize tasks that move the needle, concentrating their energy on the vital few rather than the trivial many. This selective use of time creates momentum, and momentum compounds just like money invested with interest. The rich also recognize the value of delegation. They do not waste precious hours doing what can be done by someone else. Instead, they focus on the activities that require their unique vision, creativity, and leadership. They pay others to handle tasks that do not multiply their value, because they know their time is worth more when invested in opportunities only they can seize. This is not arrogance but wisdom, for they measure time not in hours but in impact. They also respect the rhythm of time in relation to energy. The wealthy align their most important work with their peak hours of focus and clarity, refusing to squander those moments on trivial matters. They understand that a single hour of concentrated effort is more valuable than several hours of scattered activity. By working with intention, they extract more from each day than others do in a week. Another distinguishing factor is their long-term view. Millionaires treat time as a continuum, planning years ahead while acting with urgency in the present. They do not live only for today, but neither do they postpone life indefinitely. They balance the present and the future, ensuring that each day serves a larger purpose. This is why they set goals, track progress, and measure results. They see each day as an investment into the future they are building. Ultimately, their reverence for time creates freedom. By guarding their hours, saying no to what does not matter, and dedicating themselves to what does, they gain control over their lives. They know that wealth is not measured only in money, but in the ability to spend one's time as one chooses. This is why they treat time as their most valuable currency, for in mastering its use, they master every other resource that follows. They build networks with people who elevate their vision. The wealthy understand that no one rises alone, and that the company one keeps shapes the trajectory of one's future. They are intentional in surrounding themselves with individuals who challenge them to think bigger, act wiser, and stay accountable to their goals. While most people allow friendships and associations to form by chance, millionaires form them by choice, recognizing that every relationship either fuels growth or drains potential. They seek out mentors who have walked the path they wish to travel, peers who share their ambition, and partners who bring complementary strengths. In doing so, they create an environment that constantly lifts their standards higher. They know that vision can be fragile in its early stages, easily shaken by doubt or criticism, and so they protect it by aligning with those who nurture it. Negative voices are kept at a distance, while supportive voices are invited closer. This does not mean they avoid criticism, but rather they seek constructive feedback from people who want to see them succeed. Such input sharpens their perspective and prevents them from falling into complacency. Their networks act as mirrors, reflecting both their strengths and their blind spots, ensuring continuous growth. The wealthy also give as much as they receive. They understand that true networking is not exploitation but contribution. They invest in relationships with generosity, offering value, resources, and opportunities to others. By doing so, they create bonds built on trust and reciprocity, which over time become powerful alliances. Many doors of opportunity that appear to open suddenly are in fact the result of seeds planted in relationships long ago. Within their networks, they find accountability. Friends, colleagues, and mentors who hold them to a higher standard keep them from settling for less than their best. This accountability is not rooted in pressure, but in shared commitment to excellence. When setbacks occur, the network becomes a source of encouragement and resilience, reminding them of their vision when their own motivation wanes. This collective strength allows them to keep moving forward even through difficulties that might discourage others. They also recognize the exponential effect of connecting with great minds. Ideas are exchanged, opportunities are multiplied, and innovation is sparked when diverse talents and experiences intersect. In these circles, a single conversation can alter the course of a project, a business, or even a life. They deliberately place themselves in environments, conferences, masterminds, business gatherings, where such exchanges take place, knowing that proximity to greatness fosters greatness. By building networks with people who elevate their vision, the wealthy continually expand their horizon of possibility. They refuse to be confined by small thinking or limited perspectives, choosing instead to rise in the company of those who believe in growth, abundance, and contribution. This conscious decision to cultivate empowering relationships becomes one of their greatest advantages, for it ensures that they are never alone on the journey and that their vision is always being stretched beyond what they could achieve by themselves. They avoid unnecessary noise, focusing instead on clarity of purpose. The wealthy know that the modern world is filled with endless distractions, constant chatter, and countless opinions competing for attention. Most people become lost in this noise, chasing trends, reacting to news, or getting caught up in conversations that add no value to their lives. Millionaires, however, understand that attention is one of the most precious resources, and where it goes, energy flows. To achieve extraordinary results, they cut through the noise and devote their focus to the few things that truly matter. This discipline allows them to build with precision, while others scatter their energy in 1,000 directions. Noise comes in many forms. It can be the stream of meaningless entertainment that consumes hours, the gossip that poisons ambition, the fear-driven headlines that discourage action, or even the internal doubts that cloud the mind. While others surrender to these distractions, the wealthy choose silence, reflection, and clarity. They dedicate time to thinking, planning, and refining their goals. In that stillness, they find answers that the noisy world overlooks. They know that clarity of purpose does not appear by accident. It is carved out intentionally by filtering out what does not serve the vision. Focusing on clarity means that every decision is measured against a larger purpose. The wealthy ask themselves whether an activity, meeting, or project aligns with their ultimate goals. If it does not, they let it go, no matter how appealing it may seem in the moment. This ability to say no to distractions is what creates room for greater yeses, the opportunities that truly move them forward. By refusing to be consumed by the urgent but unimportant, they preserve their energy for the essential. They also apply this principle to the information they consume. Instead of drowning in the endless flood of news and opinions, they are selective, choosing books, lectures, and mentors that enrich their thinking and strengthen their vision. They understand that the mind becomes what it consumes, and so they feed it with clarity rather than confusion. This creates a mental environment where creativity flourishes and direction remains sharp. Avoiding unnecessary noise also extends to the people they associate with. The wealthy distance themselves from negativity, gossip, and drama. They surround themselves with individuals who inspire, encourage, and challenge them to grow. By doing so, they create a circle where conversations elevate rather than distract, where ideas build rather than destroy. This atmosphere keeps their focus intact and their purpose alive. In every aspect of their lives, they practice the art of simplicity. They strip away what is unnecessary, leaving only what matters most. This is why they appear calm while others are frantic, decisive while others are hesitant, and consistent while others are inconsistent. Their ability to avoid noise and maintain clarity of purpose gives them a sharp edge in a world where attention is scattered and direction is rare. It becomes the quiet secret behind their success, enabling them to move steadily toward their goals while others remain lost in distractions. They turn failures into stepping stones rather than excuses. The wealthy understand that failure is not the end but part of the process of growth, and instead of allowing setbacks to paralyze them, they use them as fuel to move forward with greater wisdom. While the average person sees failure as proof of inadequacy, millionaires see it as feedback, a signal pointing toward a better way, a more refined approach, or a lesson that could not be learned otherwise. They do not fear mistakes because they know mistakes are the tuition one pays for mastery. Every great success story is built on a foundation of failed attempts, but what separates the successful from the unsuccessful is the way they respond to those attempts. For most people, failure becomes an excuse. They say they tried once and it did not work, so they quit. They blame circumstances, timing, or lack of luck, and they retreat into comfort. But the wealthy reframe failure as a stepping stone, an essential step on the staircase to success. They know that each time they fall short, they are not starting over from the beginning, but starting again with more experience and insight. This perspective transforms what could be discouraging into something empowering. Failure also teaches resilience. Each setback strengthens their ability to endure, to remain steady in the face of adversity. Millionaires do not crumble when plans fail. They adapt, pivot, and keep moving forward. They see resilience not as a trait they are born with, but as a muscle built by facing challenges repeatedly. The more they encounter failure, the stronger they become at handling it. This inner strength becomes one of their greatest advantages because it allows them to continue where others have long given up. They also analyze failure with precision. Instead of hiding from mistakes or pretending they did not happen, they study them. They ask questions: what went wrong? What could have been done differently? What lesson is hidden here? By extracting knowledge from each setback, they transform failure into education. This is why many of the most successful entrepreneurs and investors can trace their breakthroughs directly to lessons learned from past failures. What others threw away in frustration, they recycled into wisdom. Another reason the wealthy turn failure into stepping stones is their ability to detach their identity from outcomes. They do not see a failed attempt as proof that they are failures as individuals. They separate the event from their worth. This gives them freedom to experiment, to take risks, and to innovate without the crushing weight of fear. Because they are not defined by their mistakes, they can embrace them, learn from them, and move on quickly. In the end, their success is not built on perfection but persistence. Each failure becomes another stone laid on the path forward, a necessary part of the journey that strengthens both skill and character. The wealthy advance not because they avoid failure, but because they transform it, using every stumble as a step toward greater achievement. They let money work for them rather than working endlessly for money. The wealthy understand that money is a servant, not a master, and when directed with wisdom it multiplies without demanding constant labor. Most people trade hours for dollars, locked in a cycle where more income requires more work, but millionaires escape this trap by creating systems where money generates money. They recognize that time is limited, but the potential of money is unlimited, and so they put it to work in investments, businesses, and opportunities that grow even while they sleep. This shift in perspective, from working for money to making money work, is one of the defining differences between the rich and the poor. The wealthy begin by saving and investing rather than consuming everything they earn. While others rush to spend on pleasures or appearances, they prioritize building assets that yield returns. They understand the principle of delayed gratification, choosing the discipline of reinvestment over the temptation of immediate spending. Over time, their dollars become employees, each one working to bring in more. Whether through real estate, stocks, businesses, or intellectual property, they position their money in places where it can multiply independently of their effort. They also know how to harness the power of compounding. A single investment wisely placed grows over years into something far larger than its original value. The average person underestimates this principle, dismissing small beginnings, but the wealthy know that consistency and patience are the true engines of growth. By allowing money to compound, they build wealth steadily and predictably, freeing themselves from the endless chase of earning more through sheer labor. Letting money work for them also means building systems. Millionaires create businesses that function without their constant presence, delegating responsibilities and leveraging the skills of others. Instead of trading time for money, they design processes that continue producing value even in their absence. They may work hard in the beginning to establish these systems, but once built, the systems free them from dependence on constant effort. This creates true financial freedom, the ability to choose how to spend time without being chained to the demands of survival. The wealthy also diversify their income streams. They do not rely on a single paycheck but create multiple avenues where money flows in. This reduces risk and increases stability, ensuring that even if one source falters, others continue. They think in terms of cash flow rather than simple earnings, measuring success not by how much they make in a day, but by how much arrives passively month after month. By letting money work for them, they shift the balance of life. Work becomes a choice, not a necessity. Stress is replaced with freedom, and survival is replaced with growth. They prove that wealth is not about working endlessly harder, but about working smarter with the resources one has. Through discipline, strategy, and vision, they place their money in motion, and once in motion, it creates a momentum that carries them further than labor alone ever could. They live by principles, not by luck. The wealthy understand that chance is unreliable and fortune built on luck is fragile, but principles are timeless and unshakable. While many wait for circumstances to change or hope for opportunities to appear, millionaires build their lives on rules that govern their decisions regardless of the conditions around them. Principles give them stability when markets fluctuate, courage when challenges appear, and direction when distractions threaten to pull them off course. Instead of gambling on luck, they rely on tested truths such as discipline, integrity, persistence, and service, knowing that these qualities produce consistent results over time. Living by principles means the wealthy operate with predictability in a world filled with uncertainty. They do not need to depend on being in the right place at the right time because their principles ensure they are always preparing, always acting, always positioning themselves for success. For example, the principle of saving and investing consistently shields them from financial collapse even when the economy stumbles. The principle of continuous learning ensures they remain valuable even when industries change. The principle of treating people with respect creates networks of trust that open doors long after luck has run out. Where others might chase shortcuts or schemes, the wealthy hold fast to values that do not waver. They know that luck may bring a sudden gain, but it cannot sustain a lasting legacy. Principles, on the other hand, create foundations strong enough to carry wealth across generations. This is why they prioritize character over chance and wisdom over quick wins. They do not ask, "What will fortune bring me?" but rather, "Am I living in alignment with the truths that guarantee progress?" This way of living gives them inner confidence. They do not feel anxious about tomorrow because they trust the process of the principles they follow today. If they are disciplined, opportunities will come. If they are consistent, results will compound. If they are patient, rewards will mature. This faith in principles over luck allows them to stay calm where others panic and remain persistent where others quit. Principles also act as a compass during times of difficulty. When faced with tough decisions, they turn not to chance but to their values. Integrity guides their dealings, perseverance sustains their efforts, and vision directs their energy. Even when setbacks occur, they remain steady, knowing that principles eventually lead back to progress. Their lives become predictable in the best way, not predictable in outcomes of chance, but predictable in outcomes of cause and effect. The wealthy also understand that principles are not situational. They do not apply them only when convenient but live by them consistently. This consistency builds trust with others and with themselves. Over time, their reputation becomes a form of capital more valuable than money, because people know they can be relied on. Through this unwavering commitment, they demonstrate that lasting wealth is not built on luck but on principles lived out faithfully each day. The message is clear and timeless. Wealth is not the result of luck, chance, or secret shortcuts. It is the outcome of thought, discipline, and principle put into daily action. Millionaires do not rise by accident. They rise because they follow roles that shape their thinking, direct their actions, and align their lives with timeless truths. They guard their minds, invest in themselves, practice discipline, and see opportunities where others see obstacles. They value time, build empowering networks, and eliminate the noise that clouds purpose. They turn failures into stepping stones, let money work for them, and anchor everything they do in principles that endure. These are not hidden secrets reserved for a chosen few, but roles available to anyone willing to adopt them. The difference lies not in talent or background, but in choice. And the choice is yours, to live by chance or to live by principle, to drift with the crowd or to discipline yourself for greatness, to wait for opportunities or to create them. Wealth is not something you chase. It is something you become. And when you begin to live by the roles that govern success, you cannot help but step into the life that once seemed impossible.